Hi everyone, I'm Diane Randall of Silver Creek Samplers, and I'd like to welcome you back to Flosstube number 2. I encourage you to click subscribe if you would like to follow the Silver Creek Samplers Flosstube. I would like to take this time to thank everyone for their feedback, for your comments, for your suggestions that you left on Flosstube number 1. As with most things in life, it was a learning curve, and we did take into some consideration. We actually gave a lot of consideration to several of the comments that were shared, and I appreciate them very much because I want this to be fun and also easy to listen to for everyone. So it has been a while. I believe the first Flosstube was done the beginning of May, and life kind of got in the way between all of the designing that of course happens right here in my little corner and all of the preparations for some of the events that I've attended, along with the unexpected diagnosis of an elderly aunt. She received an unexpected diagnosis of stage 1 breast cancer, and I am happy to report that she has since had the surgery, and they got everything they went in after, and she is doing very well. She has recovered very well, and all seems to be well as far as her diagnosis is concerned. We still have some follow-up visits with doctors, but she is doing well. And that's one thing that I just want to encourage everyone to, take care of the girls, if you know what I mean. So in the middle of May, I took part in Celebration of Needlework, which takes place in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this was my first time attending with Silver Creek Samplers as a vendor. I had never actually been up to New Hampshire, and so it was a beautiful drive, about between 5 and 6 hours away from home here in Montrose, Pennsylvania. And it was a wonderful weekend filled with the opportunity to talk with stitchers and to be able to show not all of my designs, because that would require a very large booth, but to showcase some of my newest releases. And it was just a fun time. There were, I would say, about 20 vendors who set up in a banquet hall type setting. There were other fellow designers who set up. There were actual shops, brick and mortar shops, who came in and actually set up shop in their booth. And as a vendor, you kind of get to schmooze with everybody. You get to schmooze with the stitchers as well as other designers and other shops, and it's just a really fun time. So I actually had a chance to go fabric shopping, which, I'm sure none of you ever do, because, who needs fabric really? But we all know it's not a matter of need. It's a matter of want. And one of the vendors who was just kitty corner from my booth was Stitch New England from Massachusetts. And one day, I believe it was probably Saturday. It was Saturday afternoon and things were kind of quiet. And so I just wandered across kitty corner to their booth, and I spotted all of these beautiful fabrics from Atomic Ranch. And these were some of the fat quarters that they just hopped into my shopping bag and they came home with me. What can I say? I don't have anything planned specifically for these. These are all 18 count Aida, as that is my absolute favorite fabric to stitch on. And they just have so many yummy colors that were available. And so I was super excited to bring these home and add them to a potential pattern. So this was one of my fun purchases. Another vendor who happened to be there was Barefoot Needleart from South Carolina. Amy and Memory Baker. I have met them at Needlework Market in Nashville, and they are just so pleasant to talk with, and just we had so much fun. We actually went out to dinner one night with Barefoot Needleart, as well as the Pam from Stitch New England, and we just had a wonderful time. So after I visited Stitch New England's booth and purchased the Atomic Ranch, then I went over around the corner to see my friends from Barefoot Needleart. And one of the fabrics, I know I showed this already on social media, but you know, it took me quite a while to do another Flosstube, but I picked up this beautiful blue fabric from Barefoot Needleart, and this is called Sea Mist. And I actually do have plans for this for a market release, but that's all I'm going to tell you right now. The other fabric that I also got from Barefoot Needleart was this beautiful neutral sandy toes. A lot of their fabrics obviously have beachy type names because they are near the beach. So I just saw this fabric and it was just, I love me a good neutral any day of the year. You just never know when you need just the right subtle shade of a neutral, and this just seemed to fit the bill. And I'll be showing you a sneak peek of something that I am stitching currently using Sandy Toes from Barefoot Needleart. So I know that probably many of you have seen on social media all of the hullabaloo about Needlework Marketplace. Now, those of you who may not know what Needlework Marketplace is, it is a wholesale event. It's a virtual event that will be taking place towards the end of August this year. And we as designers, excuse me, my nose itches, we actually set up a virtual booth during the show, and it's very similar to Nashville, to Needlework Market in Nashville, except it's all virtual, and it takes place right here in the comfort of my home and everybody else's home. And the shops come into our virtual booths and they place their orders for these new releases, and then they will go to the shops, and then they will go from the shops into your stash. So for the past 3 days, I have been posting full reveals of my 6 releases, my new releases for Needlework Marketplace. And I haven't revealed all of them. There are some shops who received the email who have been sharing some of the images, which is wonderful. So you may have already seen some of these, but I'm going to take just a few moments to share them with you right now and, tell you a little bit of inspiration that was behind them. And of course, being OCD myself, I'm going to go in alphabetical order of their names. So the first one is called Autumn's Wardrobe, and it was stitched on 18 count cornflower from Fiber on a Whim, and the flosses used are from Classic Colorworks. This is the first time that I have ever used Classic Colorworks, and they were just very delightful to use. Their shading, their colors, and the richness, they're just wonderful to work with. And all of my designs also give DMC conversions. Well, except for the ones that actually do use DMC. There's no need for conversions. So this one in particular, fall is, it's funny because when you live in an area that there are seasons, definite seasons, and each season presents a different change, it seems like every season you go, oh, this is my favorite season. Oh, this is my favorite season. Oh, I love this season. Well, I have to say, I believe fall is my favorite season. winter being on the very bottom. Not my favorite season. I love the colors of the trees. I love the crispness of the air. Even the smell of the air is just so different, and the coolness of the nights. Now, sure, it's just a little foretaste of what is just around the corner, which would be winter, but we don't talk about that dirty word in this house. So autumn is a big inspiration for me. It's just, there is just so much amazing change where the leaves just go from this rich green to a whole array of reds and browns and golds, and it just literally takes my breath away every single year. And it seems like every year I find myself saying, this has been the prettiest fall that I've ever seen. This has been the prettiest fall I've ever seen. And so because of all of these pretty falls, that inspired me to do Autumn's Wardrobe. And it says, as trees undress, the cool winds throw their garments to the earth below. And in the corner, there's this little red barn that's, the architecture of the barn is very reminiscent of the barns you see actually down in more of the southeastern corner of Pennsylvania. So this was just so much fun. Fall is actually a very easy season to pull colors for, because they all go together. You don't have to worry about, oh, these two clash. So the next design that I want to talk about is called Don't Quit Your Daydream. And of course, as you can see, there's a cute little redhead there in the corner who kind of looks like something like this. I wonder where I might have gotten the inspiration for this. Let's think about this. Don't Quit Your Daydream actually hits home for, I'm sure, many of you, but it definitely hits home for me. It was stitched on 18 count caramel macchiato from Fiber on a Whim, and this one also uses classic Colorworks floss, and it does have a DMC conversion. Now, just bear in mind, of course, that when I give the DMC conversions, you're not going to get the same exact look as that of the fancy floss, but it does give you an option if you don't have access to some of the fancy floss that is used in a design. So the inspiration from this, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. I spent 30 years working as a graphic designer out in corporate America. And that actually was a dream of mine when I graduated from high school. I wanted to have not just a job, but I wanted to have a career that just allowed my creativity to just soar. And I worked for several different places in several different types of positions, from art directors to even did a stint in a print bindery for a while. And I got to learn the ins and outs of printing and the different processes of bindery and different weights of paper and all of these things. And then when the pandemic came, I was furloughed from my job. And for a few years prior to that, I had this dream of being able to do Silver Creek samplers full time. And it was a big jump, and it was a jump that I was very hesitant to make on my own. I am very grateful that essentially the decision was made for me, as I was laid off from my full-time job, and then the daydream of taking Silver Creek samplers full-time became a reality for me. And so this design just came into being because, so often you hear the phrase, and it's usually said in a negative tone of voice, is don't quit your day job. Well, that doesn't sound very inspiring, but don't quit your daydream. Whatever that daydream looks like, don't quit it, because the dreams are sometimes what gets us onto the next leg of our journey in life. Now, one thing that I do want to point out about Don't Quit Your Daydream is that the pattern will actually, there's two versions of the pattern that are within the design itself, actually in the pattern. There is a version, of course, that is as it's stitched here, with a person who has long hair, long flowing hair. But the pattern also includes a version for someone who has short hair. And the design is slightly different. There's a few more leaves that are put in to use up the space where the long hair is. But I believe that daydreams are for everyone. And so I wanted to give the opportunity for this to be stitched for anyone who has a daydream. Next up is called Greatest Catch. And this is one that I added to my, what I call my Modern Matrimony series, my Modern Matrimony line of designs. It's not really specifically one for a wedding or an anniversary, but it could very well easily be just a fun design used to celebrate any kind of relationship. And it's a different take on it, but I just thought it was just a cute, fun little design, and I figured that probably a lot of stitchers out there have husbands or partners who also do enjoy fishing. I actually had someone comment when I did the reveal for this on social media that she said, gee, maybe I should change it to I'm his greatest catch, which I thought that was pretty clever. And this was stitched on 18 count cappuccino by Fiber on a Whim, and I used a mixture of floss from Weeks Dye Works as well as Gentle Arts. And again, DMC conversions are given for all of the colors that were used. And here we have a sweet little design called Home with You. Again, this was inspired by this fabulous relationship that I'm in with Mr. Silver Creek Samplers. I have always felt like no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, that I just feel at home with him. And so that's how the inspiration for this design came to be. Now, on mine, I stitched Established 2022, as many of you know, that last year, Mr. Silver Creek Samplers and I were united in marriage. We just had our 1-year anniversary yesterday, which I'm sure some of you saw on my social media posts, but it was just unbelievable that it's been a year already. I can't believe how fast the time has gone. But you could this could be a wonderful housewarming gift. You could put the year that you moved into your home. And, maybe you don't have a human companion that you feel at home with. Maybe your companion is a cat, a dog, a bird, whatever it might be. But this was just a sweet little design that could be special for any type of occasion. And this was stitched on 18 count buttermilk by Fiber on a Whim. And the flosses were new to me. I actually talked about them in my first Flosstube. The flosses are from Forbidden Fiber Company. This was the first time I've used them. And the colors were absolutely luscious, and they were just a delight to work with. The next we have is a Christmas design. And because we all know that Christmas can be stitched year-round. There's absolutely no limits on what you stitch when you stitch it. So, being that we have the Needlework Marketplace coming up at the end of August, which is approaching fall, I thought it would be a good time to debut Spruce It Up. It says Spruce It Up Christmas Tree Farm. And this was also stitched on 18 count caramel macchiato from Fiber on a Whim. And the flosses are from Weeks Dye Works, also with DMC conversions in the pattern. One of the things that I really enjoy doing, which I'm sure anyone who's been following my design style for a number of years, I'm sure you've noticed, is that I love a good play on words. And when I came up with this, I thought, spruce it up. Okay, has actually two meanings. You know, you're sprucing up your home for the holidays, you're making it look festive and just bright and happy. But the other meaning, of course, is, you know, spruce is a very common Christmas tree type that you are putting the spruce up. So spruce it up. Last but not least, we have the count. This is actually not the count. This is Vincent Van Gogh. Yes, Vincent Van Gogh. When I designed this, my prostitute Lori said, I need to stitch that. Send Vinny to me. So off to Michigan, Vinny traveled. And let's just say that she had an absolute wonderful time stitching it. And I looked forward to every single update that she sent me. And to all a good bite. We all love Halloween. Halloween is incredibly popular. It always amazes me that sometimes I think Halloween is even more popular than Christmas designs. But this was so much fun to design. And, well, let's face it, if I'm not having fun designing it, it's never going to be released. But Lori did a fabulous job with bringing Vinny to life. And this was stitched on 18 count Abyss by Fabrics by Stephanie. And this does use DMC floss, completely DMC. So one of the features of my Flosstube that I would like to present in each episode is something that I would like to call From the Vault. Now, as some of you know, I have been designing now for 14 years, which I know is incredibly hard to believe because, you know, I don't look like I could be that old, do I? Well, I am. So when I first started designing, my style was a little bit different than what it has transitioned into. My lettering was unique, however, it had a little bit different look to it. And I do have a few patterns that were released in the first year or two when I started designing in 2009 that actually are still current with my distributors. So the one I want to show you in particular, this one is called Dandy Dreams. So Dandy Dreams, I actually stitched a date of 2009, which was the very first year of Silver Creek Sampler's existence. And I remember this was one little rhyming verse in particular that I was crawling into bed one night and I was just getting comfy, you know, trying to get reacquainted with my pillow, and all of a sudden the words just came to me and I thought, I'll remember these in the morning. And I kept repeating them to myself, and I started to drift off to sleep, and I thought, what if I don't remember these words? So I got up, grabbed the closest piece of paper that I could find, and wrote the words down. And it says, take a breath, gently blow, spread your dreams, and let them grow. And again, even all these years ago, 14 years ago now, dreams were still a very big part of my life. Dreams to me represent hope. They represent possibility. They represent just things that, maybe they seem a little far-fetched, but what fun is it if you can't at least dream about it? So this is called Dandy Dreams, and this was stitched on a Picture This Plus. I believe it was Chime, and it was stitched with DMC floss as well. And this is actually one of the few designs that I do have hanging up in my home. When I took it down off the wall, I did have to do a little dust job because, really, who has time to dust? And it's in a hallway where there's not a lot of light, so, nobody sees the dust anyway. So, Dandy Dreams from the vault, still available. So the last thing, I kind of debated. I know a lot of floss tubers, they show their works in progress. And I know there were some comments made about, sharing my different works in progress, which can kind of be a challenge as a designer because I don't want to show too much because these are actually going to be future releases. Now, there has been a lot of time and effort that has been put into the releases that are coming out for Needlework Marketplace. However, I am always thinking ahead. And as a designer, you almost have to be, even as a stitcher. If you have a special event, you have a family member who's getting married or celebrating an anniversary or a Christmas gift, you also have to think ahead that, okay, I have this much time to get this done. So it is August, and I am currently stitching on a release that will debut at Nashville Needlework Market 2024, which it seems like it is so far away, but it's going to come faster than I realize. So that is what is on my scroll rods right now. And it is being stitched on this Sandy Toes that I showed you earlier from Barefoot Needleart. So I am going to give you just a little peek at what the design is shaping up into. Now, there's not a lot to see, but like I said, I couldn't show you everything because that would give it away. So this is the design that is currently on my scroll rods. I'm not even going to tell you the name of it because I just don't want to give too much information away. But it is being stitched on Sandy Toes, as I said, and the flosses that are being used are from Forbidden Fiber Company once again, and DMC conversions will be provided. Now, when I stitch on 18 count, I actually, if I'm stitching it, I prefer stitching with just one thread. I know many people stitch with two. And, my cross-stitutes actually stitch with two threads. And I get the models back, and they look amazing. Absolutely fantastic. But for some reason, when I stitch with two threads on 18 count, it just looks bulky to me. So I like to stitch with just one strand of floss. So this will be coming to you in several months. And this probably will be the last time I show you a sneak peek of this, because once I get more done, it'll just be too much information to share. And I like to keep my stitchers in suspense. So again, I want to thank everyone for your input, for your comments, for your suggestions as to how we can make this floss tube even better. And I look forward to bringing you even more floss tubes in the future. I won't promise that they're going to be done on any specific kind of time schedule because sometimes you just don't know what life is going to bring you. So thank you for joining me for this second episode of Silver Creek Samplers Flosstube, and I encourage you to hit the subscribe button, and if you feel so moved, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of this second episode. So until then, we will see you later. Bye.